Vishwa. Welcome to our podcast Tarang, where every voice creates a wave. Today, we have with us here a very special guest, Dr. Anuradha Choudry, ma'am, who is the coordinator of the Indian Knowledge System divisions at the Ministry of Education, and she's also a faculty at the IIT Kharagpur. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, we are so honored to have you here on our podcast, Tarang. So, to begin with, could you share your academic and personal journey and how everything led towards the lifelong commitment towards Indian knowledge system?
Thank you very much. So I started as a student in the Sri Aurobindo International Center of Education in Pondicherry, and it's an institution where from childhood, right from kindergarten all the way up to college, they teach us Sanskrit, but it starts with Sanskrit and French. And the reason for teaching Sanskrit in that school is because both the mother and Sri Aurobindo, who are founders of that institution, they believe that every child born in, just like every child born in France knows French, every child born in Bharat should know Sanskrit. Because they said Sanskrit is the language of Bharata's soul. And the Sanskrit language also fine tunes our thinking in a manner that allows us to process more complex ideas and express them with greater precision. So that's the reason that I had my first contact with Sanskrit and Bharatiya culture. And Sri Aurobindo was a passionate uh, proponent of Indian thought and Indian knowledge systems. He has a book also called, it used to be called The Foundations of Indian Culture and Renaissance of Indian Culture in Bharat. That's the book that he has. So growing up with all of that, I would say I literally grew up in a kind of a paradise where we had the freedom to what do you say, to explore all these different domains.
Thank you, ma'am. That was good.
So as I studied in the ashram school, I learned Sanskrit from my younger days, and then I came across a quotation by Sri Aurobindo where he says that the recovery of the perfect truth of the Vedas is not merely a desideratum of modern intellectual curiosity, but a practical necessity for the future of the human race. So this was one quotation of his that inspired me to want to study Sanskrit further and also to then be able to tap into the secret of the Vedas, which is a book by him as well. And the other point where it comes to making money, there was a shloka from the Panchatantra which says, Praptavyam artham labhate manushyaha. The money that you have to get, a person will get. Devopitam langhaitum na shaktaha. Even the gods cannot change that. Tasmat na shochami na vismayome. That's why I'm not worried, nor am I surprised. Yadasmadiyam nahitat paresham. What is mine cannot be anybody else's. So I said, if that is the case, I might as well invest in something that I'm passionate about. And if it will bring me the returns that I want, then it will be a win-win situation.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, but there's this perception that's often going on that traditional system and modern education are two parallels that they don't go together. So, from your perspective, how can IKS and contemporary discipline go hand in hand?
I think India has been extremely progressive in all its knowledge traditions. Unlike the notion that something in traditional with something from a traditional background will burden a person with knowledge that is not relevant, Bharata and its ways of thinking are extremely progressive. It's about actually looking at any knowledge system, being able to analyze it and understand it from its fundamental perspective, and then apply it in the contemporary context. That is the hallmark of Bharatiya culture and Bharatiya thought basis or thought foundations. So, with something like that, in fact, the more acquainted an student is with the backdrop, or rather the foundations of Indian knowledge systems, the more equipped that person would be to deal with contemporary life and in a manner that is sustainable, in a manner that is future looking as well.
You're right about that. So, and as students, I'm a student, so we are constantly changing our identities and our thought processes. So, how can Indian knowledge system influence us to change our perspectives and approach towards life and learning and bring it together?
So one of the things that Indian knowledge systems does is it gives you a sense of great confidence because of the vastness, because of the power of the knowledge that it has. So anybody who possesses that knowledge will automatically feel equipped to deal with any challenge of life and also feel very confident in themselves. So I think what would be an ideal scenario for the next generation is if each individual or each youngster became like an ambassador of this Indian knowledge systems and become influencers, so that when you talk about this with conviction, because you understand the depth of knowledge and richness of content that it has to offer, then I think there will be no doubt in anybody's mind about the greatness and the direct relevance and benefit that you can experience when you engage with this knowledge tradition. So just to give you an example of my own situation, where I know that just because I've had the foundations of the Sanskrit language, I can literally stand anywhere in the world and be able to hold my ground in terms of the thought processes, in terms of the complexities of ideas that have to be presented. So I would highly suggest or invite the next generation to engage with this knowledge, to find that they can uh, benefit from the wealth and become carriers and ambassadors of this to the world.
All right, that was beautiful, ma'am. Also, ma'am, you're at Amrita Vidyapeetham campus in Kochi. So we here at Amrita Vidyapeetham are constantly having elaborate research and working with IKS on a really great scale. So do you have any other add-ons to share for effective implementation of our IKS research?
I think the Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeeth is doing a great job already in the way in which it is exposing children to the wealth of this knowledge.
Thank you.
But I think what needs to be enhanced, it literally is enhanced, is to be able to bring in the contributions that Bharata has made in all knowledge domains in a more palpable way, so that children feel inspired to take it up further and do research in this, so that they can offer new and innovative insights in the different disciplines that they choose to follow. Just to give you again another example, a lot of the leading quantum physicists were in fact inspired by Vedantic thought. They were exposed to Vedantic literature. So we see that exposure to the Indic knowledge bases can actually help to give a quantum leap in the kind of work that one is doing, no matter what the domain is. You can be at the cutting edge of that particular discipline. So I think Amrita Vidyapeeth, the more it is convinced and it is able to inspire its future generation, who can then become future leaders in this entire movement of what I'm saying, Bharata Swadhyaya Andolanam. So let's make it a bottom up. Let students ask for this, and then the systems will be forced to support it and promote it.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. And also, looking forward, how can IKS influence our future generation and India in the whole as a society driven by knowledge and traditions? So, what are your thoughts on that?
How can India offer IKS to the world?
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing is that we see it happening in the world today, where knowledge traditions like yoga or Ayurveda. In fact, yoga is one of the fastest growing industries in the US. So we see that it is not just a tradition for well-being, but it also has huge economic potential. But if we are trained how to look at it from that perspective, once upon a time we were this very, very prosperous nation. That's because we benefited directly from the knowledge that we had generated, and we were able to productize it and then sell it to the world, so that the world felt benefited when they came in contact with that. So I think there is a need to re-engineer the way in which we understand Indian knowledge systems, we engage with it, we share it, and also then how we promote it, and in every particular respect of life.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. So that was a really great session, and thank you so much for you coming here and sparing your really valuable time for giving us such insightful thoughts and messages. I'm sure that the people who are listening to this podcast will surely find it really helpful for them to implement IKS and its systems in their life to make it better and to better find their identities and to face any challenges that's happening in their life further. So thank you so much, ma'am. We are so grateful for having you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Namashivaya.